little while. And now it's live.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello. How
Hi.
are you doing? Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us yet again for another Thursday night Flyer Team live stream. Tonight, Simon Keeling is not with us. However, he has sent in a video so we can all find out what the weather's going to be like this weekend. And given that it's quite nice, I think he's probably gone for the slightly outrageous shirt this time, hopefully. We got a whole bunch of news. Lots of electric news, which seems to be the kind of thing we have all the time these days. We've got some gamma numbers and a little game that we're going to play with the gamma numbers that we need your participation and a bit of a pun competition based around Leicester, which we'll come to shortly. And what else have we got? Oh, yeah, Fantasy Hangar. Well, we're picking out microlights. I'm not entirely sure why Ed and Dave are bothering this week because I've got it nailed. Anyway, so without any more, let's get Simon's video going so you can all see when you can go flying this weekend.
Evening all, sorry I can't be with you this evening, but I'm sure you're having a fantastic time without me. The shirt is out, and that means that it's going to be a half decent weekend. Let's take a look, shall we? This is Saturday. Low pressure towards the south on Saturday, high pressure towards the north. We're going to get easterly wind across the country. This, to be technical, is a polar continental flow, and that is going to be breezy across many parts of England and Wales. Typical wind speeds 20, perhaps 25 knots, so just be aware of that coming in from the east. And that polar continental flow does reduce visibility, so quite hazy across many parts of England and Wales. Maybe one or two showers affecting southern areas as well during Saturday afternoon. Some low cloud affecting eastern coasts of England, but generally for most areas it's dry, it's fine, it's sunny, and if you can just get out of that wind, actually it's pretty decent flying conditions. Now for Sunday, little change really. High pressure still in control on Sunday. Notice the isobars still close together across the south, so still breezy. Easterly winds probably around 18 to 20 knots across many southern parts of England and Wales on Sunday. See the trough line there? That is a line of some showers. Base is around 4,000 feet on those. They'll be well scattered though, so I don't think they'll cause too many problems. But again, visibility reduced because of that easterly wind. Further north, northern England, Scotland, northern and central parts of Ireland, lighter winds here, fairer conditions under that high pressure, so some decent flying conditions to be found. Now, I said about polar continental. If you don't know your polar continentals from your tropical maritimes and you want to build your confidence in forecasting yourself, get yourself along to my next aviation weather school, which is on the mornings of the 7th and the 14th of November. Go to weatherschool.co.uk. There's the glorious site that you'll see for more information, and you can book your place there. I've got a few places left on the mornings of the 7th and the 14th of November. It'd be great to see you at Aviation Weather School. Okay, and on that note, I'll hand you back to the team. Bye for now. Have a great weekend.
As shirts go, that wasn't too bright, I didn't think.
It wasn't too bad. I think the shirt might have distracted from the mention of the 25 knot easterlies, which
yes,
is going to make it, well, at least a kind of straight down many runways, if not all runways. So not go out of here, fly. You're not invited.
The flyer fly.
Oh, the flyer fly. I might just swap the flyer fly. Dave. Give us some news, Dave. Let me move you into the centre because that's a new feature and I can do that.
Oh no, he's found something to fiddle with. Uh-oh.
Yes. So we might keep swapping around. Anyway, so the news this week is mostly about electric aircraft. There was a fly-in in Switzerland, a place called Grenchen in Switzerland. It's called the Electrifly Inn. So it's a bit of a pun there, Swiss pun, I guess. But despite all the COVID that's around in Europe, 1,000 people turned up at Grenchen for this. It's a flying of electric aircraft and a symposium where people discuss things. There's a fuller report on the Flyer website, flyer.co.uk, in the news section. But they had a competition for who flew the furthest, and they had the new perpetual Velis Electro there.
Did you say who flew the furthest? Was that like who flew from the furthest to get to Grenchen, or was it
the furthest
whose
distance,
electric
yes.
aircraft managed to fly the furthest?
Yes, it's obviously limited by range, battery range, but yes, that's the competition. Yeah,
it was a guy. The longest distance arrival was a guy flying an Antares electric glider, wasn't it? So I feel
that's right.
I wouldn't like to say that's kind of cheating, but
it is a bit. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Other electric news. There's a startup in the States called Ampere. They've been going for a while. They have taken the Cessna 337, which has got an engine at the front, an engine at the back, and they've replaced the engine at the front with an electric motor. They kept the internal combustion engine at the back, and the idea is that you're using half the fuel, therefore half the emissions. And interestingly, they've made the first flight of this aircraft, but interestingly, they're about to start some trials with an airline in Hawaii. Hawaii, Hawaii is actually a bunch of islands, and they have a lot of short journeys where they are only going a few miles and therefore don't have to climb up high. So the range thing isn't such a big deal for them. So that's possibly a project that's going somewhere.
Yeah,
Hawaii.
Hawaii, in fact, yes. Other electric news. If you really want to go in an Equisc, the Volocopter people, German company, they're now accepting bookings for a flight in the Volocopter. You put your name down, pay a deposit, and it will eventually cost you €300 for a 15-minute flight, which will be videoed, and you get a certificate to say, yes, you've been up in a Volocopter. So they haven't announced actually exactly when the flights will be or where they'll be, but you can go on and give them your money. I don't think this is a question of trying to raise a bit of cash, which is what some unkind people have said. I think this is more because a Chinese company called Ehang, who's the Volocopter in a kind of race to be the first to be a commercial, electric vertical takeoff air taxi. Ehang have been making public flights, taking members of the public up, and so I think Volocopter want to get back on terms with Ehang in this particular race.
Adrian Norris says, "Let's pay for Ian to go."
No, let's not pay for Ian. Let's not pay for Ian to go. I wouldn't pay €300, pounds, dollars, or anything to go for a 15-minute flight in a Volocopter.
The good news is you don't have to, because we will crowdfund it for you. I reckon I can get that crowdfunded in the half an hour of this show.
Yes.
I reckon you probably could, but I'm still not going to do it because it just doesn't sound like a great idea. So,
what's next?
Right. What's next?
Yes, I can feel some numbers.
Before we move on from eVTOL stuff, why is it that so many of them look like human limb processors?
The mass number of motors and rotors, I think it's
yeah.
Well, at least Volocopters put them up high, out of the way, whereas Ehang, it's leg choppers.
Handily
they're
around the cabin.
Around the cabin. So yes. Gotta be sure
I don't need to do this because I've just seen on here Rachel Ramsey has just volunteered to do it. So that's fantastic. Great, Rachel. That 15 minutes is all yours.
Yes. I'll be on to them tomorrow. Sort that out.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Other news. Not surprisingly, COVID has had an effect on aircraft deliveries. And when the General Aviation Manufacturers Association, that's GAMA, which we call it, they released their figures for the second quarter of 2020, which was clearly going to be the quarter that was hardest hit by COVID. And the figures are down. Across the board, they're down, and they're down for piston aircraft deliveries, but perhaps not as much as you might expect. I was about to charge in there, but of course, I need to introduce Ian at this point.
That's right. Well, frankly, when I saw that on the thing, and I think when we all saw it, I'm thinking, well, that's great. Let's have a segment talking about the deliveries of Q2 compared to Q1 and year on year. And it was just dull. So we decided we'd play a game. And here you go with the game.
You just know that there are some young people who have just seen that and they're completely befuddled by that. They're going, "What is that all about?"
Young people, Google, and if you're old enough to remember the show, you will also know that Brucey opened it by doing a little dance. But I don't think Dave got that memo.
No,
No
one's dancing. Yeah,
we're going to have to go without the dance, but we're also going to have to go without the exact game because it doesn't quite work. We haven't got any cards. Anyway, so the idea is I'm going to read out a couple of aircraft, and you have to decide who sold the most, so higher or lower.
Join in at home, folks.
So that means you, Dave, that means you, Ed, and that means you people in the comments as well. So here we go.
Paul Fraser-Benison is already on it.
Excellent. So starting with an easy one. Pilatus PC12 or Dair TBM?
I'm going to say
higher and which one's lower?
More TBMs. Higher for TBM.
Dave?
I'd have said higher for the PC12s myself.
Oh,
Dave's got it. PC12 29 deliveries, TBM 13 deliveries. This is for the statisticians out here, this is Q1 plus Q2, so deliveries this year to date. Very good. How about here's a tricky one. PA28 versus Cessna 172. Higher or lower?
I'm going to say the PA28s have it. Higher for PA28.
I agree with that, actually. Yep.
Yeah, both wrong.
Yeah.
Both wrong. Year to date, Cessna delivered 99 Cessna 172s.
Wow.
Piper 63 PA28s.
That's quite a
Piper
good
did better in the second quarter, didn't they?
Yeah, they had I think they had a chunky fleet order, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
So let's sticking with training aircraft in general. Don't at me about the training aircraft for PA28s and Cessna 172s. Tecnam P2006 little Rotax twin versus the Piper Seminole PA44.
I'm going to go Tecnam higher.
Dave?
Tecnam higher.
Having been both wrong, you're now both right. Tecnam scored with 13 and Piper with 6. Are we getting any feedback from people here? Is anyone else entering this so far? Or
there was a lot of people guessed the 172 was higher. So Andy Talkington was with us on the Tecnam. He got that right.
Good. So let's go up to a bigger piston aircraft. SR-22T versus the Bonanza. Higher or lower?
It's a no-brainer, as
I was going to say,
the man on the advert would say. It's got to be the Cirrus. Must be higher.
Yeah.
No one could get that wrong. So interestingly, the Cirrus, the turbocharged Cirrus, which is kind of a slightly unfair thing because the Bonanza's not, is 71 in the first quarter, first 2 quarters, whereas the Bonanza is
7.
4.
Oh, okay.
4 Bonanzas.
Yes, and Andy Talkington is totally in the spirit of this. He's hoping he wins a mini metro, which is exactly what would have happened.
He's going to win a boat if he's lucky.
Many years, no, speedboats. That was bullseye. No one's throwing darts at the screen.
When we manage to do one of these all 3 together, we're going to have to get darts, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like look at what you could have won.
So, talking a bit of pure fun flying, Cub Crafters versus Extra. Who was higher and who was lower?
Oh, well, Extra had a new aeroplane out, so I'm going to go Extra. Higher.
No, I'd have said Cub Crafters.
Cub Crafters. Well, in the first 6 months of this year, Cub Crafters delivered 3 aeroplanes.
Ooh,
getting right now.
They delivered 10.
Yeah.
So. Okay, we need to get jet-tastic here. The Cirrus SF50 versus the Citation M2.
It's got to be the Cirrus. The Vision Jet is like everyone wants Cirrus. It's the coolest little jet. So it's got to be SF-50 higher.
Well, it could be, but the M2 is quite a nice little fleet aircraft for some business aviation operators.
So boring.
But I think you're right. It probably was a Cirrus.
And you'll be glad to know in the first 6 months of the year, Cirrus delivered 31 Cirrus jets, and Textron delivered 9 Citation M2. So Cirrus have it.
Well done, Cirrus.
Okay, sticking with the fun stuff. American Champion. This is across all of their makes, by the way.
Yeah.
American Champion and Icon.
Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna go. American Champion delivered more aeroplanes, higher for them.
Okay, American Champion delivered 3 aeroplanes, a bit like Cub Crafters, and they're 3 in 6 months. 1 aeroplane every 2 months. Gulp. And Icon delivered 13.
Wow.
I know. Amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Just a couple more to go. Turboprop time. The Cessna Caravan versus what is now the Daewoo Kodiak.
It's got to be the Caravan is just the power seller, isn't it? Surely. Higher for the Caravan.
Sure, must be the Caravan.
Yeah, Caravan sold 11 and the Kodiak sold 2.
Yeah. Okay.
So little fun fact for the people here. You may probably know this already on the Kodiak, but the Kodiak, before Daewoo bought it, and maybe even now Daewoo bought it, I don't know what's changed there, but it was kind of like an airplane designed for a lot of missionary kind of work, and it was built by a very religious, very spiritual company, I believe. And the interior of some of the panels, the ones that aren't painted, that are inside, have like little verses from scriptures that people have written on in Sharpies and stuff.
Fascinating fact.
Fascinating fact. May God be with you, as they say. Right, moving on. Mooney versus Mahindra.
A tie, nil.
No, Mahindra. I'd say
Mahindra. Got it spot on.
Really?
0-0. And I do believe Brucey would say, you get nothing for a pair, not in this game.
There we go. You've been just waiting. You engineered that question just so you can trot your 80s catchphrase out.
And if Rachel's still around, Rachel, this question for you. Bell, all of the whole Bell suite versus Robinson, everything from Robinson.
Oh, so helicopters. I'm going to go.
Got that bit right.
Yeah, it's got to be Robinson, hasn't it?
I'd have said Robinson, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Bell was 42 and Robinson 84. So half.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, just a very, very quick one before we bore everyone to bits with Gamma Q2 stats. In terms of delivering the total number of general aviation airframes across their whole range, the top 3. Want to take a stab?
Top 3, it's got to be Cirrus, Piper, Technam.
Okay, that's your top.
I'd say Textron first.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Piper, and then probably Cirrus.
Okay, the answer is in first place is Textron with 191. Second place is Cirrus with 159. Third place is Diamond with 88.
Oh, well done, Diamond.
There's a big cluster around that 88. I think Technam sold 86 and delivered 86. Sorry, and Piper delivered 85. So the 80s, the mid 80s is a popular place. And one last question.
Go for it.
Roughly speaking, top billing. I mean, I'll give you a clue. It's jet company because obviously jets are a bit more expensive than Technams.
It's got to be Textron, I guess.
No, Gulfstream.
Oh, of course.
Or Bombardier.
Dave's got it. Gulfstream, 2.96 billion in the first half of the year.
Yeah.
So
yes, I'd say easy payment plans available, but I'm sure people who buy Gulfstreams don't need an easy payment plan.
They may well do. I would. Okay. Well, that's the end of the quiz. Well, that's the end of that quiz. Time for your puns. Get your puns out for the next video.
Why do we need puns? This I believe this happened yesterday at Leicester, didn't it?
They did. It was a little video. There were some unscheduled movements. Sorry.
Watch from the right, people.
And this wasn't supposed to happen.
No.
No.
Do it. And I presume the outcome was that they managed to get rid of them again. Either that, I guess, or it's been stocking up for the Leicester Curry nights in the future. Lots of beef curry. It's nice to see some real frantic running people in that, because clearly it's like
that was lots of cow shit all over the airfield, I imagine.
I would imagine, yeah. And hope cows like licking aeroplanes because they're tasty. So yeah. The fabric aeroplanes are irresistible to cows.
Yeah, famous.
Famous.
Yeah,
we've had our first move it pun. We've had utter disaster from Rachel Ramsey.
Very good
person. That's holy cow. Nick Allen on it with herd immunity. Yes. And we've had one. Carol De Sola says, "Looks like the ground crew are focusing on cowl flaps."
Oh dear. Yes. Well done, Carol. That's the biggest groan, I think. Well done.
Very good.
Okay, I've just got one little minor thing, if I may, before we move off of the news, which is CAP 1934, which is the airspace reclassification consultation that the CA are currently running. It ends at midnight tonight, so 3:59. If you go onto YouTube and you look in the description of this live stream, you'll see a link in there to CAP 1934. Was it 34? It was 34, wasn't it? Yeah. And also a link to the survey that you can fill in. Now, you haven't got long to do it. It's really important that you do it. I've been on and done it. And if you have a look, go to page 24, which is kind of like the core of the document, if you like, when you look at it. And it sets out the 3 stages that the CA are proposing they adopt for airspace reclassification. Now, you need to go and read it and make up your own mind, but I would suggest that there is absolutely no oversight. It's a bunch of airspace experts getting together and doing something woolly, like considering it, and then getting those bloody airspace experts to, it's just ridiculous. It's just basically a bunch of mates getting together and putting it off, in my humble opinion. I'm sure they'll say something different. But anyway, whether you agree with me or not doesn't matter. Just get on there and get your answer in by 23:59 tonight. The links are in the description. Otherwise, just Google CAP 1934, and in there's a link to the survey page. It will take you about 5 or 10 minutes to do. It's really, really painless and easy. If only everything the CA did was that painless and that easy.
Make your views known.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Yes, moving on.
Moving on. Time.
What do we? Go on. I've spoken enough. Everyone's heard enough of me. Go for it.
So as you know, so over the weeks we've been doing Fancy Hangar. We started with thinking about what the building's like, and then we looked at our favourite bimbling aeroplane. I won that because clearly Cubs are awesome. There was the favourite touring aeroplane. Dave was a worthy winner with the Bonanza. We looked at little personal speedsters. Again, I completely won that with my fantastic Poland Special. Ian had a good win with kick planes to build, where he chose the Panther. And once again, my winning streak continued when it came to aerobatic aeroplanes. The Youngmeister was king. So, and this week it's going to be microlights.
Absolutely.
So join in if you've got a favourite microlight that you'd want in your Fancy Hangar. Tell us about it in the comments. Otherwise, I believe Dave has his favourite microlight.
Here you go, Dave. Talk us through that.
This is what a microlight really is. It's a flex wing. This is the P&M Quick GT450, which is like the all-rounder of the P&M range. And P&M came out of 2 companies, Pegasus and Mainair. They got together and they produce a range of microlights, flex wing microlights. This is one that does it all. Look at this. See how easy it flies? Easy. You don't even have to have your hands on the bar to fly the thing.
He doesn't want to touch
it. Doesn't want to touch it. But no, this is what a microlight really is all about. And it's actually how I started my flight training, was on a flex wing microlight in a field just outside Sandy in Bedfordshire. It was converted potato field, just with a bit of strip of grass running down the middle. And but it was great fun. I love it. It's a bit like riding a motorbike, an off-road motorbike, in the air.
Right.
So that's my choice. The PMM Quick GT450.
I think that's pretty good. Ian, what about you?
Me, I'm afraid I went for the CT. I went for the CT because it's a very spacious cabin. It's a very quiet airplane. You can tour with it. As in this instance, you can take pictures with too fast a shutter speed and freeze the prop, which is annoying. It's got a bit of a downside. Over the last 26 years of Flyer, I've attended what must be hundreds of press conferences. And in the top 5 of the press conferences in which you need to take a bucket of salt so you can take many pinches, flight design would be somewhere in the top 5 there. So, and that's nothing personal against the UK people. That's the manufacturers and the German management just seem to be a little over-ambitious with their aeroplane projects. They're going to do 180 knots on 3 thimblefuls of wheel or something. But that said, I think it might not have been weird. It might have been Coca-Cola. I don't know.
That would be very, very carbon neutral.
It would be very carbon neutral. But the CT, lovely touring microlight aircraft, great performance. So that's where I go for. But I agree, it's not kind of like the raw microlight experience that Dave.
It's not wind in your hair, is it?
No, you've got a problem if it is.
That's it. And I think so. So for awesome microlight for fancy hangar, I think I've totally got it with my choice. So I went for the what's now the Lockwood, but was originally the Max Air Drifter. So it's awesome. It's, so you've got conventional 3-axis flying. You've got wind in your hair. Ian and I were lucky a while ago, a few years back, to fly in the Air Cam, which is developed by Lockwood and kind of came out of the whole drifter idea. But this is still available. And it's available. You can have it with a 582 or a Rotax 912. It's a cruise around at 70 miles an hour, wind in the face, and just take someone with you. Great fun, and get the bugs out of your teeth at the end of the flight.
Actually, there's some good ones come up in the comments. There's one which we've completely forgotten, which is from John Whiten. The CFM Streak Shadow, which was
it's a bit tiny.
It's a bit tiny and a bit claustrophobic, but hell of a performance.
It was. And I've got to say, Mick Ward is totally showing his age because he's gone for the MBA Tiger Cub. And if you haven't seen or have forgotten what a Tiger Cub is, you need to go on Google and remind yourself of the very early days of microlighting.
Yes.
So if what we might try and do, assuming we can make this work tomorrow amongst all the other stuff, we might try and run a little poll on Facebook, on Flyer's Facebook page. So if any of you want to log on and vote for or support if anyone wants to log on and vote and support the CT, then please do so. If you don't want to do that, then it won't be there. Don't need to bother. And
Andy Kennedy's got a good suggestion. He's gone for the Dinero MCR01 ULM, and that's a little tiny carbon 2-seat microlight with incredible slotted flaps. I think that's something like 130 knot cruise, but still performs, still is within the microlight numbers. That is a remarkable thing. But I felt in the spirit of microlighting, you needed to be slow and open. So
yeah. Okay, I'll give you that one. Well, let's see what they all think tomorrow on Facebook.
That's it. Leah Fay says, still an X-Air for the win. Well, Leah.
Anyway, so if anyone doesn't know, Leah did a great job in a forced landing this week when the engine stopped, I believe. Well done, Leah.
Yes. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah, good job. Great job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we have a winner there? I'm quite happy to accept position.
No, it has to be the Quick. It has to be the flexing microlight.
It's not Ian with his plastic armchair. That's for sure.
It's a proper microlight. Besides, I've already got a microlight a fixed wing microlight in my fantasy hangar. I've already got the thruster.
That's very good. So far, Andy Kennedy says, I reckon Dave has it this week.
Yes, I agree. There's a surprise. We've got 2 minutes left, chaps, so we need to push on.
Okay.
Yes.
Thruster.
So unfortunately, there's been a host of event cancellations. Some we knew about from some time ago. Reno Air Races supposed to be on this week. They've been cancelled. But this rule of 6 thing is really biting on some of the other events. And there's things like the Battle of Britain Air Show is gone. There's supposed to be one at Headcorn coming up, but maybe they're going to have to rethink that, because I can't see how on earth it gets around the rule of 6. Yeah. But what is supposed to be on is the Cywell Classic Pistons and Prop. That's on this weekend. We checked just before going on air. It's still apparently going on. And there's something next week. There's something called Salon Privé, which is mostly about posh classic cars. But there are helicopters there, and also the PAL V flying car autogyro is supposed to be there as well.
Yeah. And that's at Blenheim Palace, I think.
Blenheim Palace, yes.
Yeah.
I'm going there on Tuesday, by the way. So.
Are you taking your flying car?
Maybe.
Well, I think it's I know it goes without saying, but clearly, if you're planning to go to any of these events, then you can get cancelled at the shortest of notice these days, and it's really tough to see how some of these could take place with the whole rule of 6 or 30 if you're shooting things, I believe.
Yeah. Des Hart says he misses Reno, and he can legitimately say he misses Reno because he is a real live Reno racer from the UK.
I don't miss the hotels in Reno. It was a little bit like you'd expect to see Play Your Cards Right on the TV, because they're a little bit like 1970s, aren't they, in Reno?
We stayed the trip we made. We stayed in the Golden Nugget, which was shades of gold and brown velour and nicotine and
everyone smokes in public. It's like, what?
Yeah, very strange.
I bet you the Reno people aren't wearing masks either, I would suggest. The Reno hotel people, that is, I'm saying. Not the racers. I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think we're a minute over, so time to wrap up.
Yeah.
With a reminder for everyone, please do the thing. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to YouTube. Yep. As well as subscribing to YouTube, don't forget to join the Flyer Club, £2.50 a month, £7.50 a quarter. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's a bit like the serious stuff we were talking about earlier. Just get them to subscribe for us. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Next week's press week for the magazine. Oh, that's not. That's busy. We can go Pixel Week, maybe we should call it these days. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, it's production week, so we'll all be busy and working our socks off. But we'll still do our very best to bring you something interesting next Thursday evening. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you soon.
Take care, everyone.
Someone stole my mouse. There it is.